Welcome to yet another TrainServe production. Today we'll take a look at ASP.NET 2 and localization. First off, I'd like to point out that Microsoft has done tremendous efforts in providing improved localization features in ASP.NET 2. And one of the coolest features is the ability to automatically fetch the client's culture based on the HTTP header from the client. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to switch to source view, and at the page directive, I'm going to show you a couple of new attributes. The first one is the culture. And you can set the culture to auto to automatically fetch the culture for the client, which will be passed over as an HTTP header in the HTTP request. Also, we need to set the UI culture to auto, like that. And the best way to show you how this works is to drag over a calendar control. And we're going to do some formatting on the calendar. I'm just going to choose the professional tool look, like that. Now let's try and play the application. As you can see, the calendar control is rendered and the default language is English US. Let me go to Tools, Internet Options, and Languages. I'm going to add another language. Let me see. Let's go ahead and add French. Click OK, and I need to move it to the top. And click OK once more, click OK again, and click Refresh. And as you can see, the calendar control is really smart. It was able to detect the culture for this thread and automatically generate a calendar control which is compatible with that language. Great. If you want to enable automatic culture detection for your entire site, you need to open up Web Config, move to the System Web section, and add a globalization key. And here we're going to say the culture equals auto and the UI culture equal auto. Now we've enabled culture detection for our entire website. Cool. Just going to close this up. Now the next thing we're going to do is right-click our web project and choose Add Folder. And we can choose from these special folders. What I want you to pay attention to is the Application Global Resources folder, which can contain resource files that are specific to the entire site. That means every web page in this web project can access these resource files. On the other hand, Application Local Resources contains resource files that are specific to given web pages. So we'll use both of these in our example. So let me just go ahead and add Global Resources, right-click again, choose Add Folder, and add Local Resources. The next thing we're going to do is add some resource files that are global. So let me just right-click the Application Global Resources, choose Add New Item, and we'll add an assembly resource file. And we can name this appresource.resx. Let me go ahead and add one more. Add New Item, assembly resource file. I'm going to name this appresource.fr for French.resx. And this is the way you can add multiple resource files specific to given cultures. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a greeting. So just going to type in greeting, and the value will be good morning. In French, however, French greeting is bonjour. So let me just type in that. Bonjour. Voila. And now we have created two resource files. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to close both of these, and I'm going to try and build the application. Just right-click the web project, choose Build. And as you can see, the build is successful. I'm going to remove the calendar, and I'm going to drag over a label. Also, I'm going to switch to Code View. And I'm going to do this wiring in the page load event. And if we try and set the text property on label 1, and now we can get a hold of that value by typing in resources.appresource.greeting. And now you can see we have strongly typed access to these specific variables. Let me go ahead and try this out. I'm going to click on play. And as we expected, the greeting was bonjour. If we go to Tools, Internet Options, Languages, and we move English to the top of the page as a preferred language, click OK, OK again, refresh the page, you can see it automatically says good morning. I hope I've shown you how easy it is to implement localization in web applications. And the best part is that you get strongly typed access and also, of course, IntelliSense. But this isn't the only way you can access your resources in your web pages. Let me just comment out this line of code and switch to the ASPX page. And I'm going to go into source view. Now if we examine label 1, you can see we can set the text property directly here. And if we use the ASP familiar syntax and the new $sign, we can specify resources directly by using the resources keyword and colon app resource, which was the name of our resource file. And we're going to specify comma, and then we can specify the variable name, which was greeting. And I'm going to switch to the sign view and back to my page. As you can see, it's commented out. Let's go ahead and try and play this. And it works. It has retrieved the value from the resource file declaratively, so we don't have to use the code behind. And now we're going to take a look at local resource files that are specific to a given web page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click the local resources, choose Add New Item, and add an assembly resource file, but we need to be careful with the naming. So we'll give a resource file to the default.aspx.resx file, and we also get this warning. I'm just going to say no. And we'll also add support for the French language. So I'm just going to say Add New Item, assembly resource file. This will be the default.aspx.french.resx, something like that. Click OK. Still say no to the warning. And in the English resource file, I'm going to create my own property. I'm going to name this my property. And the value will be something like I am free. And we'll open up the French resource file, still name it my property. And I hope I get this right, something like Je suis libre. If there's some French people out there watching this video, please don't blame me. I'm not that good in French. And we'll close these files like that. And once we try and access this value, we're going to use another method for accessing that value. So I'm just going to say label1.text equal, and here we have get local resource object. You can also get a global resource object this way, but I'm going to say get local resource object, and this will be my property. And also, if we want this to be absolutely correct, we need to C-type it into a string, like that. And that should be about it. If I try and click on play, you can see we get the text I am free. If we go to Tools, Internet Options, Languages, and move French to the top, click OK, and refresh, you can see we get the French text, Je suis libre. So as you can see, it's pretty much the same. It's very, very easy to implement this in ASP.NET 2. And one more concept I'd like to show you is the ability to open up a resource file and actually create settings for a collection of properties on specific server controls. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to say mylabel.text, and I'm going to set its value. This is the value for the label. And we can also do stuff like mylabel.tooltip equal to this is the tooltip value. I'm going to skip the French part for now, but I'm just going to save this and comment out the previous line of code. And we're going to switch to default.aspx, and then we go into source view. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the following syntax: meta colon and resource key, and we'll pass over my label as the value for resource key. Now it will use my label, and it will retrieve all the properties for that key in the resource file. Let me go ahead and play that. And as you can see, we get this is the value for the label, and we also get a tooltip. This is the tooltip value. So it's working just fine. Now we also have support for a couple of other things. Let me go to my default.aspx page again and go into Design View, and we're going to take a look at the panel control. If I drag over an instance of the panel and take a look at some of the properties for this panel, you can see we have this new ability to set the direction of the panel. And in some particular languages you have to read from right to left, and you can do that by just saying right to left instead. And if I move the label over, you can see it aligns to the right, and which is really cool because it's supported by the Design Time environment in Visual Studio. So really convenient. So what we've taken a look at today is the calendar control. We have taken a look at global resources, local resources, how we can access these values declaratively, programmatically, and also how you get strongly typed access to these properties. So I hope you really found this video informative and that you've learned a lot about localization in ASP.NET 2.